Uncharted has evolved a lot over the last few years. The first Uncharted game was released in 2007 and told the story of Nathan Drake and his treasure hunting adventure. This soon spawned 3 direct sequels on PlayStation 3 and 4, as well as a separate PS Vita game which offered a similar experience on a mobile platform. All 5 of these games revolved around Nathan Drake and used amazing visuals, gameplay, and storytelling to complete the tale of Nathan Drake. But this year brought something new to Uncharted, a game that didn't focus on our dashing, wall-climbing, mass-murdering hero, but rather on 2 smaller characters in the series, Chloe Frazer and Nadine Ross. Uncharted The Lost Legacy saw a change to the series in which a game featured characters and a story different from the other main entries in the series. The Lost Legacy was a great start to sharing stories of the supporting cast of characters from the Uncharted universe, and I believe that this will continue in the future. We know that Uncharted 4 was the last story to feature Nathan Drake, so my question is, where will the future of Uncharted take us? I personally have a handful of games that I would love to see created, all revolving around specific characters, the first of which being a game about Sam and Sully. A game featuring these 2 was actually considered before The Lost Legacy, and I think that this idea would be great. Uncharted 4 ends with these 2 teaming up to go on adventures. We are given a hint as to what these adventures may entail in the epilogue of Uncharted 4. A game delving deeper into these 2's relationship would be pretty interesting. We know that there is some tension between the 2 at the beginning of 4, so seeing these 2's relationship grow and develop would be a storyline that I would love to be a part of. The next idea would be a game featuring some or all of the villains of Uncharted. Eddie Raja, Lazarevich, Harry Flynn, Ramses, Nadine Ross, Rafe Adler, Hector Alcazar, Goro, and Nasav are not only some of the most iconic characters and villains in Uncharted, but also in gaming as a whole. I would love to see these characters fleshed out more by way of a standalone game. The closest we have gotten to this was the alternate reality co-op adventure mission from Uncharted 3, in which players control Harry Flynn, Lazarevich, and Eddie Raja. You're seeing gameplay of this now, hopefully, in the background. The 3 characters make their way through numerous enemies to seek out a cursed treasure. This was pretty entertaining, but it would be cool to have a cinematic Uncharted game that allowed you to take on the personas of these characters and be canon in the Uncharted universe. I think this could be best accomplished by having a campaign similar to games like Battlefield 4 and Star Wars Battlefront 2, which switch to you playing different characters from mission to mission. This would allow for players to get bite-sized chunks of all of these characters and be able to play in multiple locations and against multiple enemy types in a realistic manner. If this is to be created, I just hope that each character arc will be able to be developed in a meaningful way that adds relevant information to each character. Like, maybe it can be more than just one mission per villain, maybe it can be multiple missions, just enough to really give you a good feel for the characters. Some ideas for storylines could be seeing how Nadine inherited Shoreline, how Rafe and Nadine formed an alliance, and how Harry and Chloe first started working with each other. Maybe with this storyline ending right before meeting up with Nate for Uncharted 2. I would really love to see that, in all honesty. I think that there is a lot of potential for a villains-only game, and I hope that it can be considered. The next game that I would like to see is an Elena game. I personally was never a huge fan of Elena. I always found Chloe to be a more intriguing character, but Uncharted 4 changed my perception of Elena. She quickly changed from a somewhat whiny and weak reporter into a believable and relatable human for me in this game. Seeing her and Nate just hanging out on a couch in their house, living the married life, began to make me respect who she was as a character. I felt that the first scene involving her showed her as a hardworking author, a caring wife, and a playful companion, all of which were more relatable and realistic for me than from most of the scenes that she had in the other 3 games combined. For that reason, I would love to see a game that shows Elena becoming who she is and developing into this more seasoned and well-rounded character. I think that she changes most from Uncharted 1 to 2. Having a game that shows her breaking up from Drake and forging her own path could be very entertaining and insightful into her character. Maybe a game that has her traveling the world and becoming a journalist could be nice, but I don't know where the climbing and guns could come into play. Maybe there is a storyline for her somewhere that could lend itself better to the gameplay of Uncharted. Next up is a game featuring Tenzin. Yeah, playing as our Kumaraye yelling hero could be very weird, but it could be interesting to learn more about him. Even better, a game showing Carl Schaefer or Salim stories could be entertaining. I don't know why that's even better, but we'll say that's even better. I'm not quite as fond of this idea, as I barely cared for these characters, but I think it could work in some way. And let's be honest, they were okay. I felt some attachment to Tenzin as he led me through the icy plains of wherever that was. Maybe you could even have Elena meeting Carl and Tenzin in a story or something like that, or showing them after their story arcs in Uncharted 2 and 3. I'm not as keen on this idea, but I think it could work in some way. Maybe even like part of Elena's game. So in Elena's full game, then it shows her meeting Carl and Tenzin in it. So maybe you could include them in that game. Another idea is a game showing what happens to Charlie Cutter. Cutter is a character that I was expecting to see in The Lost Legacy as well as Uncharted 4. I was somewhat surprised that he wasn't in Uncharted 4, but was even more surprised to not see him in The Lost Legacy. From what I gathered in Uncharted 3, him and Chloe appeared to be somewhat close. Maybe I read too much into their bond, but I thought that there was some kind of relationship between them, business or otherwise. For that reason, I would like to know more about what happens to Cutter. He kind of disappears after Uncharted 3 alongside Chloe. Now, Chloe was able to make a reappearance with The Lost Legacy, but we still don't know what happens to Cutter. At least if there's a Lost Legacy sequel, maybe include Cutter in that game, but either way, I want to know what happens to our lovable, backstabbing Brit. And the last idea that I have is a game revolving around the characters in either the Uncharted book or Vita game. The most likely character to be featured here would be Marissa Chase, the girl who doesn't use guns from the Vita game. I'm not as interested in her character, and I highly doubt that Naughty Dog would make a game based on characters from a game that wasn't created by them, but it could still be interesting to find out what happens to her character in the events after Golden Abyss. So those are my ideas on potential standalone Uncharted games. Let me know in the comment section below which game or games you would like to see, and some of your own ideas as well. If you want to see my gameplay with commentary on Uncharted 4 single player or multiplayer, or even some other games like Uncharted 1, 2, and 3, then make sure to click on any of the videos seen on the screen or in the description below. Also, if you like this video, then click the like button and consider subscribing to be notified of when I post new videos. And I will see you all later. Okay, bye guys.